Hello, my name is Joanne Wiles and I'm a Senior Community Nurse with the School Nursing Service in Warsaw. And welcome to our fussy eating workshop for children and young people with additional needs. So in today's session, we're going to have a look at what a healthy diet looks like, what fussy eating is, the reasons for fussy eating, how fussy eating affects your child or young person and you and the family, and how fussy eating can be managed. So this is our Eat Well guide. This is what a healthy diet looks like. As you can see, there are 5 different sections. The first section is quite a big section, and that's the green section. That's the fruit and vegetables. Fruit and vegetables contains vitamins that keep us healthy, and they also contain fibre, which keeps our gut healthy. The yellow section includes carbohydrates. These give us the energy, calcium, and vitamin B. Whole grain carbs will also give us fibre that help out with our digestive system. The next section is the pink section, and this is the protein, and this helps the body to grow and repair itself, a bit like building blocks for your body. The blue section is the dairy section, the milk and dairy, and that keeps the bones and teeth healthy because it contains protein, calcium and vitamins. The small section is the fats and sugars section, and as you can see, this is only a little tiny part. It does give us lots of energy and calories, but not many nutrients, so we only need a very small amount of this. As you can see, there's also a glass of water at the top, and that means that we need lots and lots of fluid throughout the day to keep us healthy too, and that's usually about 6 to 8 glasses. So what is fussy eating? The term fussy eater is often used, but it's not always a helpful description, as it tends to ignore the very real challenge that some children can face when it comes to meal times. And it's natural to worry that your child is getting enough food if they refuse to eat at times. However, it's very common for most children to experience difficulties with eating, and usually this is part of the normal developmental process. We're going to look at how fussy eating affects not just the child or young person, but also parents, carers, and the wider family too. So what are the reasons? I've gone too far there. What are the reasons for fussy eating? As you can see, there are many reasons, and we'll look at these in turn. There's a physical reason. The child may be ill, or maybe even be vomiting. Yeah, if you know yourself, if you're feeling ill, you don't want to eat as much. You will definitely have a reduced appetite. It could be their posture, the way that they're sitting. Are they comfortable? They may be too hot or too cold. Again, I know myself in the summer, if I'm hot, I haven't definitely got a reduced appetite. I don't eat as much. Think about the cutlery that you're asking your child to use. Have they got the fine motor skills to be able to hold the cutlery in their hand or to be able to use the cup? Are they stressed? Are they anxious? Not just about meal times, but about other things in their life as well. Again, anxiety can cause nausea, which will reduce your child's appetite. Another reason for fussy eating is behavioural. Some children throw food, push it away, and this is usually to avoid eating it. Parents can get very stressed when this happens. Parents may also avoid giving their child certain foods because it's a food that they don't like. If a child can see that you're not eating something, you can't expect them to eat it either. Some children find it difficult to use the cutlery or plates because they're not the same, they don't match. So it's worth having a look at what you're asking your child to use. They don't like sitting at a table. Some children find that very stressful. And they may have routines that mealtime doesn't fit into. So it's always worth getting into a good mealtime routine with your child. Some children copy behaviour. So if you have an older child that your child eats with and they don't eat certain food, maybe your younger child is watching them and thinking, well, if they're not going to eat it, I'm not going to eat it either. Some children, as we know, have sensory issues. Certain smells or tastes or textures, or even the visual of the food itself, that may not look nice to them. There may be noises going on in the environment. It might be too hot or too cold. It could be too bright where they're sitting, so have a look at the lighting. Have a look at where your table and chairs where you're asking them to eat is situated in the house. Can it be moved? And have a look at the environment. Are there distractions going on? Is that the reason why they're not eating? Is there an Xbox right next to them that they'd rather be playing on? Is the TV on? Are there other people around them that are too noisy? Is everybody eating together? That's another thing. Can you really expect your child to eat alone when the rest of the family eat together? So have a look at that environment. And the timing as well, that's also important. Is your child tired? Yeah, have they just coming from school? Have they only had a snack an hour ago? Yeah, so have a think about the time. So what can you do to help your child to eat? So think about staying very, very calm when it's meal times. I think that's one of the most important things to do. Don't get stressed. Okay, I know that's easier said than done. Reduce your expectations of what you're expecting from a meal time or how much you're expecting them to eat. Try and keep your child's portions very small and maybe increase them as the child gets older. Don't expect them to eat too much. And reduce your expectations of how quickly you're going to get them to eat. Keep your communication during mealtime short and simple. Don't get into that escalation trap where you're having an argument. Yeah, keep it short, keep it simple, so the child knows exactly what to do. Try to find triggers within the environment as well. We've just mentioned the environment, but try and find if there are triggers that's upsetting your child or stopping them from eating. Make sure your child feels listened to as well. That's really important. Are they trying to tell you that they don't like certain foods? Are they trying to tell you that there's a problem with the environment? So make sure they're listened to. Make sure there's consistency as well, and that's across meal times at home, but also meal times at school, when your child is with another adult, a grandparent or a childminder. Make sure that everybody who has care for your child is consistent in their approach. Think about those sensory issues as well. Some children find some kind of massage before a meal time is relaxing and will help them to be more relaxed for meal times. Some children find that having something such as a weighted blanket around them will help them feel safer. Maybe doing a little bit of exercise before a meal time. Some children find doing lateral movements helps them to keep calm, such as swaying or rocking. And many parents try to stop them doing this, but if it's helping your child to feel calm enough to eat, then let them do it. What's the harm? Some children find having something to occupy them during a meal time as well helps. And I don't mean having the TV on, I mean using something such as a fidget spinner or having some Play-Doh maybe in their hand to have, just to keep them occupied while they are eating. That can always help. Try and ignore or not respond to behaviour that, as long as it's safe to do so, that can be annoying sometimes, but you can let it go. Some children will say words that they know they're not supposed to say during meal times, very often because it gets a reaction from you, it's getting them attention. Try and ignore that. Okay, try and respond to the child. Don't ignore the child, but do ignore the behaviour. When you do get negative behaviours, use a very low emotional response to it. So you don't get upset, you don't get angry. Just say, please don't do that. Yeah, very low emotional response. And use those distraction techniques where possible. You could try a first and then approach, such as first eat some of your tea, or first eat all your peas, or first eat all of your potato, and then we will have a story. Or first eat your meal and then we'll go and play a game together. So they've got something to look forward to, they've got some kind of reward, but use the first and then approach. Give reminders about meal times that are coming up so it's not such a shock to your child. So remind them that you're going to go and start doing the tea. So there may be noises, there may be certain smells, but tea will be ready in half an hour. 15 minutes later, go and remind them again that tea will be ready in another 15 minutes. And maybe 5 minutes before tea is ready, go and tell them that it's now time to come off the game or to stop doing what they're doing because tea will be ready. So go and get ready by washing their hands, for instance, and getting to the table. You can use rewards and incentives as well. Obviously, you can use reward charts, work very well with children, or you can use reward tokens. Yeah, and that's not just for trying new food. That can be for sitting at the table nicely, for using their knife and fork correctly, for being in the same room as a new food. And I will come on to that in a second about the steps to eating. So use rewards and incentives for anything that's going to help your child, not just for eating, maybe for turning the TV off, yeah, anything that's going to help. You can use social stories as well, and this is like little cartoons or sitting down with your child and telling them about what's going to happen at mealtime, where they've got to sit, who's going to be there, what food's going to be involved, so that they are prepared. Some children respond well to visual clues, so you could put a picture up on the wall or give them a picture of what they're going to be having for tea that night, so they know what to expect on their plate. They know what's going to be put in front of them. You could use a picture of the table and the chair, so they know where they've got to sit. You could give them a picture of their cutlery and their plate and their bowl and their cup, so they know what they're going to be expected to use. We'd also encourage parents to use a food diary. So that would be writing down a list of foods that your child currently eats, because that will help you to identify any new foods that they suddenly start eating that maybe you hadn't realised. This can also reassure parents that they are actually eating more than you initially thought. And it also makes it easier to introduce new foods, because you can introduce foods that are similar to in appearance, colour, texture to foods that they actually already eat. So we're now going to talk about the steps to eating. So these are steps that you can use for encouraging your child to eat a new food. So as you can see, the first step is to tolerate. So that would first of all be to be in the same room as a food. It's nowhere near them, it's just in the same room. Then obviously the next step would be putting that food on the same table as them or bringing it nearer, but maybe the other side of the table to where your child sits. The next step would be bringing it a little bit closer, maybe halfway across the table. And then maybe putting the food in front of the child, but they haven't actually got to do anything with it. They're not eating it, it's just there. And then obviously getting the child to look at the food, because that would be, just accepting that it's there. They can see what colour it is, they can see what it looks like, so that they are aware of that new food. The next step would be interacting with it. Obviously this would be playing with it, obviously not on the dinner time and on the plate, but maybe playing with it, making faces with food, in the kitchen. You can get them to interact with it when they are preparing it, but they could be preparing it for someone else, for yourself, for the rest of the family, but they're not actually eating it at this stage. They can use a utensil to get it out of a bowl and put it into another bowl. So again, that's interacting with it. Maybe stirring the food, any way of interacting, helping to prepare it. The next stage is the smell, okay? If they can tolerate it being in the room and they can tolerate the smell, yeah, then obviously that's a good step. Then you would move the food closer, so they would have to tolerate the odour of it at the table. Then you would put it in front of them, so they would have to tolerate it in front of them. And obviously then you'd be encouraging them to lean down over the food and to smell it directly. The next stage is to touch. Obviously you wouldn't expect them to touch it with their fingertips straight away. They can touch it with their backs of their hand, they can touch it with the heel of their hand, they can touch it with their palm. Then you would obviously encourage them to touch it with their fingers, but not pick it up at this stage, just to touch it with the tips of their fingers. Then the final stage would be to actually pick it up, maybe put it down again, and then pick it up and to touch it to their mouth, touch it to the area where you want them to eat, obviously. If they could touch it with their tongue, yeah, then that would be brilliant. Or even if they get as far as touching it with their lips, then that would be a really good stage for touch. The next stage is taste. Obviously, if they have managed to touch it to their lips, the first stage of that would be to lick their lips so that they get to taste it. Then you would get them to taste it on their tongue, so they would have to lick the food. Then they would bite a very small piece off, but spit it out, which I know sounds awful, but yeah, that would be the next stage. Then they would bite it and hold it in their mouth for a certain amount of time before spitting it out. Then they would bite it and maybe chew it slightly before spitting it out. Then chewing it and swallowing part of it. Then they would chew it and swallow it with a drink maybe. And then they would chew it and swallow it independently. And then obviously that's eating. When you think about eating, think about the wider picture as well. Think about the time of day that they're eating the new food. Are they tired? Think about that environment, those sensory issues, who's there, what distractions there are, everything that we've talked about so far. But also the temperature of the food, the size of it, the shape of it, the colour of it, the odour of it. Yeah, all has to be taken into consideration. So those would be your steps to trying a new food. So you could do this very gradually. And there's no rush for this to happen either. This can happen over quite a long amount of time. But yeah, really good idea to follow these steps when trying something new. So tips to help your child to try new foods. Okay, so get them involved in shopping for a new food. Take them to the supermarket, look at the packets, look at the prices, look at the colours. Get them involved in buying it. That's the first step. Then obviously you get them involved in putting it away in the cupboards. Get them involved in preparing it, so I can get my words out there, preparing it. So get them involved in every aspect of food. Offer them different forms of the same ingredient. So if your child likes apples, you could offer them dried apple, tinned apple, canned apple, raw apple, and that can be the same for other different sorts of foods when it's safe to do so, obviously. Offer them a choice. So at meal times, offer them a choice of two things maybe. Don't give them too many choices, but maybe offer them a choice of a couple of different things. Encouraging them to look, touch, smell, and if they want to try eating something, taste new things together as a family as well. Yeah, have lots and lots of conversations about food. Offer smaller portions. So if you're trying a new food, don't put a lot of that new food onto their plate to begin with. And especially if it's a new food that they're just trying to eat, only give them a small portion of it, and you can build that up gradually. You could also use a sharing plate. This is a really good idea if you have family DVD nights or, playing games together. Get a sharing plate with some different foods on, foods that your child does like, but put some different things on there that your child has never tried before. If they see the whole family eating those foods, then they're more likely to try it. Other help that you can get with your child's eating and other behaviours, we offer many parenting groups. So we do talk about eating within these parenting groups, but we do obviously talk about other behaviours as well. We have the Understand Your Child's Behaviour, which is the Solihull approach, which is a 10-week course for 2 hours a week. And it's a really good first course to come on. It helps to improve the relationship between you and your child. It talks about how you're feeling and your child's feelings. It helps you to tune into your child's developmental needs. And we have a whole section on having fun together and playing games. We talk about self-regulation and anger. So if your child does find it difficult to get to sleep or to calm down when they're angry, we can talk about this in detail. And we talk about communicating with your child, as I say, improving that relationship. We have the Triple P Positive programme, and we actually have two of these. The Group Triple P, which is for 0 to 11-year-olds, and the Teen Triple P, which is for 11 to 16-year-olds. This is a slightly shorter course in that it's 8 weeks, and you actually only come to the group for 5 of those weeks. 3 weeks are telephone calls where we will call you to discuss your child's behaviour on a one-to-one basis. We talk about why children behave the way that they do. We talk about how you can improve that relationship between you and your child. And we talk about how you can encourage your child how you can promote those desirable behaviours that you want to see more of. But we also give you tips and strategies for managing that misbehaviour. And this is the reason why many parents like coming onto this group. We give you those strategies, maybe new strategies that you hadn't thought of, that you didn't know about. And this will help you to manage that misbehaviour. We also offer the Signet Parenting Group. This is aimed specifically at parents of children who've got a diagnosis of autism. Okay, so it's very similar to Understand Your Child's Behaviour and Triple P. It's a little bit of both, really. But it is obviously designed to target the sort of behaviours that you may see in your child who's got autism. We talk about what autism is, we talk about communication, we talk about those sensory issues, and obviously that all has to be taken into account when you're managing your child's behaviour. If you do want any more help and advice on your child's eating or any aspects of their behaviour, you can call the school nurse. There is a number that is on the screen there. There is a text messaging service as well. Okay, so please do get in touch with us. Also, if you want to attend any of our parenting groups or any of our additional needs workshops for toileting, understand your child's behaviour, understand your child's emotions or transition, or you want any further information about them, please do give us a ring. You can also visit our website. We have two, Health for Kids and Health for Teens, and these are national websites. If you go on them, there is a drop-down box and you can drop down to the Walsall area and it will give you all the information about what's available, not just for school nursing, but everything else that's available in the Walsall area. Thank you for attending our workshop for fussy eating for children with additional needs. I hope it's been useful for you. Thank you.